All right, so weightlifting periodization part 3, and this is going to be like pretty much the end of it. I mean, there's so much more I could go into, but who wants to listen to hours of me discussing how to periodize your programming beyond just simply 3 blocks? So we discussed the first block, which is basically all this accumulation. It's the same weights over and over and over again, but you're trying to get more volume in per session. Then you have this transition where now you're taking a heavy single, once or twice a month. And then the final one is very short. I was surprised by that. Typically, it's like 4 weeks. This is what he was sharing with me. And apparently, this is how Ilya Ilyin trained. So this is from an individual who coached Ilya Ilyin, and now he coaches other lifters, obviously, as well. And it's a 4-week kind of like peaking, tapering. So what you have is you have 4 lifts. You have your snatch, you have your clean and jerk, you have your squat, and you have a deadlift or some type of pull. And what you're going to do is the first week you do 4. So you work up to a set of 4 in the snatch. You work up to a set of 4 in the clean and jerk. You work up to a set of 4 in the squat. You work up to a set of 4 in the deadlift or pull, whatever pull you're doing. Not everyone does the same. Apparently you have to individualize. Surprise, surprise, right? So some people are doing like a snatch grip deadlift. Some people are doing a very traditional style deadlift. Some people are doing a clean pull. Some people are doing a snatch pull. Whatever it is, you have a pull and you have your squat. And maybe you're doing front squat and someone else is doing back squat. It's very individual. Then the second week, surprise, surprise, you're going to do 3s. So you work up to a heavy set of 3 in the snatch, a heavy set of 3 in the clean and jerk, a heavy 3 in the squat, a heavy 3 in your pull. And guess what happens the third week? 2 doubles. Heavy double for the snatch, the clean and jerk, the squat, and whatever pull you're doing. And then you have your fourth week where you work up to a heavy single in the snatch, a heavy single in the clean and jerk, a heavy single squat, and you might actually remove the pull that week, though. That depends on the lifter. Some people remove the pull. And that's generally 2 weeks out from competition that you have that final week. So that final week where you go like as heavy as you can is 2 weeks out. And then the following week, obviously, you go back off. You're not going to go for a max single or something at 100%. But, you're still going to lift probably pretty heavy, all singles, but you're not going to maximally lift that week. You kind of taper back, and then that leads up to your competition. And I thought that was really interesting. They spend very little time doing heavy singles and, maxing out, unlike American lifters who come in and try to max out every day. I'm going to max out every day. No, that's not what they do. Now, granted, there's something to be pointed out here. These are very advanced lifters. So this is something that is a very important caveat here for you to understand. These are people who are at the world-class level. So their 1-rep max is not going to improve drastically from one year to the next. You already know that. You've seen the numbers. That's why they can train based off percentages, because their numbers aren't improving at the rate that yours are. So for those of you who are listening to this, you're a beginner, you're an intermediate, this is not how I recommend that you train. You shouldn't just copy this. What I do think is that you can take some of this and apply it to yourself, okay? So I'm a huge fan of auto-regulation. I like people who are beginners and intermediates, developmental lifters, to frequently take a heavy single. Auto-regulate. Don't miss. I'm not telling you to work up to a max. If you know your max is 100, don't try to work up to 100 kilos every time. Work up to a heavy single, something that felt heavy that day, and you're like, I'm not sure that I could put 5 more kilos on the bar. So let's say, your competition max is 100 kilo snatch, and today you're in the gym and you work up to 90, and you say, I'm not sure if I would get 95 or not. Then 90 is your heavy single for the day. For the rest of that, then you base your training off of that. So let's say, you hit a 90 as your top heavy single, and now you're saying, well, today I'm going to do doubles. So what do? You drop back to like 75 to 80, and you do 3 to 4 doubles. Okay, that's how you would apply this. You wouldn't want to just I'm going to assume that I can hit 100 every single day. No, that was your max in competition. Similarly to this, you probably shouldn't train off of percentages, because if you're a beginner or an intermediate, the odds of your 1 rep max increasing is probably much more significant than someone who is already at the advanced level. If you're already snatching 200 kilos, you're not going to see a huge jump like, oh, I snatched 210 a month later. It's not going to happen. You've been training for 15 years, you're at 200 kilos, you're not going to snatch 210 next month. But for those of you who are beginners, you snatch 60. It's entirely possible that a month later you're going to snatch 70. And it's entirely possible you're going to snatch 80 a month later, okay? That's, like, I've told you guys the story about me. I started Olympic weightlifting, and within 3 months I snatched 100. Okay, less than 3 months. So less than 3 months I snatched 100. Well, yeah, because you're a beginner, so you're going to make a lot of fast progress. So for beginners and intermediates, you probably should be going heavy more often, but within reason. So don't go heavy like you're going to take, oh, I'm going to go for 100, and you take 15 attempts at 100. Don't do that. Work up to a heavy single. Let's say you hit 95 and you take a crack at 100, you miss 100. Okay, well then guess what? 95 was your heavy single for the day. Now drop back and do your doubles and triples based off of 95, not based off of 100, okay? That's the way to look at this for you out there who are beginners and intermediates. The majority of your training still needs to be in that 75 to 85% range, right? But we're going to take an auto-regulated daily single because you're a beginner or you're an intermediate. You're still developing. You're going to see a lot of progress. When you're at the elite level, you're not going to see a lot of progress. It's not like Lasha is going to put 10 kilos on his snatch every month. It's not going to happen. It's just a law of diminishing returns. If you're currently squatting 1,200 pounds, you're not going to put 1210 on the bar next week. But if you're a beginner, you could easily put 10 pounds on the bar every week. It's part of being a beginner. Enjoy it. Beginner gains are fun. I wish I still made beginner gains. Gosh, if I was still making beginner gains this many years later, I'd probably be squatting 1,000 pounds already. It doesn't work that way. So enjoy that time. And then as an intermediate, you'll probably put 5 to 10 pounds on the bar every month. Okay? So you're looking at, 5 kilos of progress every month as an intermediate. That's still very good. It's only at this elite level that you can start basing everything off of percentages, because you basically just assume that you're not going to be putting 5 pounds or 5 kilos, for that matter, on the bar every month. In any case, the point that I'm sharing here, though, is that they spend very little time in these peaking phases. So they spend most of their time building, and practicing. He made this comment to me. It was a very, very good comment. He said, if you were practicing basketball, you would practice shooting from many different distances, but you wouldn't shoot from as far as you possibly could. And that's right. No one practices basketball that way. No one comes in and says, oh, I'm going to keep taking one step back, and then, shoot the ball from as far as I possibly can. No one does that. They spend most of their time practicing at different distances from the basket. And the same thing applies to weightlifting, actually. You should be practicing the majority of your time, with different loads. So whether it's 70% or 80%, 75%, 85%, maybe a couple at 90, back down again, you're going to spend a lot of time practicing repetitions in that range of 75 to 85%. You are not going to spend a ton of time practicing over 95%. And it just makes logical sense. So, anyways, there you guys have it. That's the last part of this periodization series I'm doing here. Is just that the peaking block is very short. It's like 4 weeks.